Rogan had previously criticized the WNBA after DiJonai Carrington was involved in an incident with Jessica Shepard earlier in the season. He argued that the league was supporting and encouraging Carrington's aggressive style of play, warning that someone could eventually get seriously hurt if nothing changed. Then, on August 8, 2026, another controversial incident happened. During a fast break, DiJonai Carrington chased down Sophie Cunningham as she went in for a layup. Carrington swung her left arm across Cunningham's upper body, sending Cunningham crashing to the floor. The play immediately sparked controversy and renewed questions about physical play and player safety in the WNBA.
It was a hard foul. I don't think that DiJonai intentionally came out to get her across the neck like she did, but it did happen, and I thought it was the right call. But, you know, one of the things about Nay is that she's going to play her butt off, man. She's going to compete. Nobody's going to go walking in for a layup. And so I don't oppose the hard foul, but I also don't think that she intentionally went for the neck.
Watching at home to LeBron James, who personally reached out to Clark during her injury and praised her, seems to be asking the same question. How many players have to be hit before the WNBA takes stronger action to protect the Indiana Fever?
DiJonai Carrington last night almost took off Sophie Cunningham's head, gets ejected from the game, rightfully so, runs to the locker room, gets on Threads, and types out white privilege. Which is crazy, especially coming from a gal that's literally wearing a bleach blonde wig. Now, let's talk about black privilege for a second. Doing something completely wrong and unethical, and instead of taking responsibility, pulls out the race card and acts like a victim. Yeah, that's what we just witnessed here. The sheer lack of accountability on DiJonai's end, that was so intentional. Look at DiJonai staring at Sophie's head the whole time, and look at her reaction after. That's anger. A normal reaction would be to ask if Sophie was okay or immediately apologize. But instead she shoves her. The audacity to go and cry wolf and pull out the fake victim card and scream white privilege. All the while making Sophie Cunningham bleed as a result to her actions. People are tired of everything being blamed on race. I wouldn't be surprised if DiJonai did this in response to Sophie Cunningham coming out vocally in response to protecting women in women's sports. This was not white privilege. Under DiJonai's definition of white privilege, here's some more white privilege. Getting ejected from the game was called consequences to actions, and DiJonai should be thankful that an ejection is all that happened, because she ought to be suspended from the entire.
Chicago Sky leading 18-17 late in the first quarter, Sophie Cunningham broke away with a clear path to the basket. She completed the layup, but as she went up, DiJonai Carrington made contact with the side of Cunningham's head with her left arm. Cunningham fell hard to the floor but quickly got back up and confronted Carrington. The officials initially called it a flagrant one, but after reviewing the play, they upgraded the foul to a flagrant.
A black girl clotheslines a white girl on the basketball court, was ejected from the game, and then immediately tweets out white privilege. The claim is so outlandish, I don't even know how to rebut it or what commentary to provide, because in what world does it make sense, right? Then you have Sports Illustrated with this headline after the game. Let me just remind you what Sophie Cunningham said. Actually, I'll just put it right here. This is what Sophie Cunningham said regarding protecting women's sports. That is it. Nothing more, nothing less. So I guess this is the price of standing for women and for girls. And what, we all just have to accept it as karma? No, this is assault far beyond what is normal on a basketball court. And who would be surprised if I told you that DiJonai Carrington, the woman who did that to Sophie, is the same woman who did this to Caitlin Clark. One more time, just in slow-mo. Oh yeah, that pesky white privilege. Final thoughts. The WNBA is a joke. Sophie Cunningham is an icon, and black people like DiJonai Carrington can, in fact.
Cunningham landed hard on her backside without having a chance to break her fall. She immediately got back to her feet and confronted Carrington, even giving her a slight shove before Michaela Timpson and security stepped in to separate them. Timpson was among the first to try to de-escalate the situation as tensions briefly flared. Meanwhile, Fever security rushed onto the court while the Chicago crowd loudly cheered. Carrington had just been ejected for a flagrant 2 on a breakaway play, yet the home crowd still applauded as she made her way toward the locker room.
Walk with me, take a walk with me, take a walk with me. There is craziness going on in the WNBA. DiJonai Carrington tweeted out white privilege from the locker room of a game that she was playing in. Get this, she fouls Sophie Cunningham hard. Sophie Cunningham, obviously a white person, fouls her hard. Flagrant 2, gets ejected, goes to the locker room and tweets out white privilege in the middle of the game. Now here's the kicker to me. A flagrant 2 has to be contact that can lead to an injury that looks excessive. DiJonai, it was about as excessive as possible. If there was any evidence of there being white privilege, this was...
That was the atmosphere surrounding the Indiana Fever on August 8, 2026. Then, just 8 minutes after the incident, while Cunningham was still on the court, Carrington posted the words "white privilege" on her Threads account and tagged the Fever. She later posted August 23 on social media, referring to the next scheduled matchup between the two teams. The posts quickly added another layer of controversy to an already heated situation.
Throat, that could kill her, right? And the WNBA, right? The people that run that league, if you're DiJonai here and you have a foul like that, I don't want to hear about, okay, that's a flagrant 2 and you get this sort of fine. She should be suspended for the rest of the season.
LeBron James and Caitlin Clark have a well-known and publicly documented connection. When Clark returned from injury, James showed his support on social media, posting "the CC effect" along with a welcome back message.
As you said, Tommy, oh whoops, this is intentional. This was targeting Sophie Cunningham, and I don't care if the player is white or black, it does not matter. When you do this to somebody, this is horrible for the league. Obviously, this was done because Sophie Cunningham stood up for women, saying that men shouldn't play against women in sports because there is obviously a chromosome advantage, just like you see with steroids, a chemical advantage.
LeBron James personally reached out to Caitlin Clark during her injury last season, asking if there was anything he could do to help. He also recognized Clark's historic 45-point, 10-assist performance, the first 45-point, 10-assist game in WNBA history. Shortly after the final buzzer, Clark called LeBron her idol and the GOAT, describing the moment of meeting him as unbelievable. Throughout 2026, James has continued to show support for Clark amid the physical play, controversial calls, and criticism surrounding her. He has seen incidents involving Clark, including a throat contact from Alicia Thomas, an elbow from Chelsea Gray, a disputed contact from Brianna Stewart, and a knee from Carly Samuelson that officials did not call. Now, in the same week that Clark's teammate was facing backlash over comments about protecting girls in sports, DiJonai Carrington made another controversial play against that same teammate, bringing her arm across Sophie Cunningham's head and neck area during a breakaway layup. Just 8 minutes later, Carrington posted "white privilege" on Threads and tagged the Fever, adding even more controversy to an already heated situation.
I am so fucking sick of the Indiana Fever and Sophie Cunningham. I really, really mean it. And I really have been trying to just keep my mouth shut because the rabid-ass, racist-ass fan base makes it insufferable to actually talk about basketball with people, one, who know the game, who used to play the game, and understand sometimes things just happen in the game. DiJonai got ejected in the first quarter in the Chicago Sky versus Indiana Fever. Sophie Cunningham went up for a layup. DiJonai went to block it, right? Flying in the air. When she went to smack, she missed the ball, hit Sophie's head. I have not played basketball since junior high. That happened to me before. But where I'm at now with it is, one, everything Sophie Cunningham does in the game is for social media. Everything she does in that game is for social media's response, no matter what. Why? Because she's a mid-ass player in the fucking league. And yes, I am a person who has not played basketball since junior high, but I can say she is a mid player in the league. Look at her stats, who understands that where her opportunity is being a social media meme, clip, soundbite. And she will do that by any means, because at this point, that's making her off-court money. What irritates me is, one, DiJonai getting the flagrant 2. I don't think that it should have been a flagrant 2 because the intent to hurt, I don't think that there was an intent to hurt. When you go up to block the ball, especially in a layup, sometimes that shit happens. However, what I'm going to talk about is the aftermath. Sophie getting up and getting in DiJonai's face, and you physically see DiJonai say, "Stop, stop, stop." With the public, the people who support Sophie Cunningham and the Fever, resulting in such blatant racism, in such social media attacks on any team, any player that is opposing the Fever, Sophie, Caitlin Clark, and especially being black, it results in such racism. Not only now are the players like, hey, I know if I'm going up against the Fever, and especially Sophie, Caitlin, I will take Lexi Hull out of this. Last season, we was getting close, Lexi. We was getting really close. I'll take her out of this equation now. But especially those two, the black players understand that if anything happens, even though it may be things that happen during the game, shit that is so normal to happen during the game, they know that they have racist attacks waiting on them online. Or hell,
LeBron James understands why the phrase white privilege carries such serious meaning in this context. He understands the controversy surrounding a player being ejected for a flagrant 2 against an Indiana Fever player and then making a racial statement on social media just minutes later. He also understands how significant it is when a crowd cheers following an ejection. And most importantly, he knows the WNBA had already faced criticism over concerns about aggressive play involving this player, yet questions remain about whether enough was done to prevent another dangerous incident.
Fouled in the face during today's game, and the offending player, DiJonai Carrington, was ejected after officials ruled her hit a flagrant 2. But after the ejection, Carrington posted, quote, white privilege on social media and tagged the Indiana Fever. The on-court drama follows weeks of backlash and protests against Cunningham for speaking out against including transgender athletes in the WNBA.
Warning was already public, and the WNBA was aware of the concerns. Yet critics argue that the league failed to take meaningful action. Then, on August 8th, Carrington made another controversial play, bringing her arm across Sophie Cunningham's face during a breakaway attempt. Critics now point back to an earlier playoff matchup between Carrington and Caitlin Clark. During the first round of last year's postseason, Carrington was primarily assigned to defend Clark, and early in Game 1, contact to Clark's face briefly forced her out of the game. For many critics, the latest incident raises the same concern. Similar controversies involving the same player have continued, while questions remain about whether the league has done enough to change the pattern.
Is such an unserious person, because what do you mean you commit a flagrant 2 and then you go to threads and play the victim?
Now trying to prevent the layup, but that is just a hard hit. That's definitely going to be upgraded, I think, to a flagrant 2, Ryan.
I think that is going to be a flagrant 2. There is wind up, there is follow through, there's potential for injury.
Like, that was such a clear flagrant 2. Like, clearly she almost took Sophie's head off, and I don't even like Sophie, and she got me on this internet defending Sophie. Like, but that was a clear flagrant 2. Like, there is no question about it. So the fact that she went to threads, and anybody called this, like, everybody knew she was about to go to threads as soon as she got ejected from the game. And then the fact that she tagged the Indiana Fever, what does the Fever got to do with it? The refs are who threw you out the game. It has nothing to do with the Fever. And to say white privilege, like, I'm just so confused. You are the one who fouled her. Like, what is not clicking? And it was 100% done on purpose. And I can only assume it's because of all of Sophie Cunningham's comments that she's been making to the media in the last couple of weeks about biological men and women's sports and all that. And like I said, I don't even like Sophie Cunningham. But, girl, that was definitely a flagrant 2. At this point, I just have to assume that DiJonai loves attention and clout, because you clearly wanted attention when you committed that flagrant 2, and you wanted attention when you went to threads. I mean, this is the same person who outed her relationship drama on threads, so warning
was already public, and the WNBA was aware of the concerns. Yet critics argue that the league failed to take meaningful action. Then, on August 8th, Carrington made another controversial play, bringing her arm across Sophie Cunningham's face during a breakaway attempt. Critics now point back to an earlier playoff matchup between Carrington and Caitlin Clark. During the first round of last year's postseason, Carrington was primarily assigned to defend Clark, and early in Game 1, contact to Clark's face briefly forced her out of the game. For many critics, the latest incident raises the same concern. Similar controversies involving the same player have continued, while questions remain about whether the
like somebody that's speaking up on behalf of girls, like a Sophie Cunningham, like a Riley Gaines, are scourges of the earth. That is an irresponsible thing to do. You are a coach for a female basketball team.
Now, 2 years later, the same player was involved in another controversial incident, this time making contact with Sophie Cunningham's face during a breakaway play and later posting white privilege on social media before leaving the arena. Cunningham addressed the situation calmly after the game, saying she had never really spoken with Carrington and had no personal issues with her, but suggested Carrington may have had some built-up frustration. Cunningham made it clear that she was willing to move on and let Carrington express whatever she needed to express. Her response was simple and composed: no victim mentality, no unnecessary drama, and no attempt to make herself the center of attention.
Just to protect her, that's it. I mean, I got my teammate back always, so just to get out of the way.
Gotta ask about her response. She went in and she got on social and said white privilege after her getting
Who did this?
DiJonai did. Any response to that?
No, I don't know anything about.
Sophie Cunningham has consistently kept her response focused on the game rather than race. She has said that everyone is welcome at her table and made it clear that she did not believe the ejection was about race. After confronting Carrington on the court, watching her get ejected, and then seeing the white privilege post appear on social media, Cunningham still responded calmly, "Get your stuff off. That's fine. I can take it." Her response showed that she was not interested in escalating the situation or turning it into something bigger than it needed to be.